The music stopped. My cheek exploded in pain, and 200 wedding guests went dead silent as my father's hand left my face. My name is Maya Tanaka. I'm 30 years old, and 5 seconds ago, my father just slapped me across the face at my brother's wedding. You selfish little girl. His breath reeked of bourbon and rage. I tasted blood. Sharp. Metallic. Real. Behind me, champagne glasses shattered against marble. My mother, Akemi, went pale. Not because I was hurt. Because we were making a scene. Her eyes darted toward the photographers. The guests. The reputation she spent decades building. I didn't answer him. I just looked past his shoulder. To my brother, Kenji Tanaka, still in his designer tux, sitting beside his new wife, Yuna. He didn't stand, didn't move. He was smirking. Of course he was. They cornered me by the dessert table, hand over the penthouse. My mother said, rearranging cupcakes like it was casual conversation. You're just one person. Maya, Kenji and Yuna need a place to build their life. Be reasonable. Reasonable. That's what they always called it when they took from me and gave to him. I told them no. Calmly. Directly. I bought that place with my own money. I live there. Kenji and Yuna can find something on their own. And now this. His handprint blooming across my face. My mother's still more worried about what the neighbors might say. I blinked once, then smiled. Not out of grace. Not out of defiance. Out of clarity. You'll regret this, I said, loud enough for the head table to hear. All of you will. Then I turned and walked out of that ballroom. My heels echoed like a gavel on tile. Nobody followed me. The cold air hit me outside, but I didn't shiver. I kept walking, past the valet, past the floral arch my mother obsessed over for weeks, past the guests pretending not to look. My hands were steady, but something in me had shifted. Not broken, just settled. When I was 24, I started saving for that penthouse. 60-hour work weeks, no vacations, night shifts, weekends. I wrote back-end code for banks, then freelanced on the side, building billing systems no one wanted to learn, but everyone wanted to own. I worked out of a tiny cafe on 5th called Hikari & Co. Long wooden tables, a view of the harbor, and a barista named Haruto who never asked questions. That cafe became my refuge, my anchor. I made my down payment 3 years later. No help from anyone, not from my father, who said I should be investing in a future with a man. Not from my mother, who called the place too cold, too modern, too far from family. I moved in alone, furnished every corner with purpose. That penthouse was the first space that was truly mine. And Kenji, my brother, he'd bounced through 5 business ideas by then. The last one involved drones and coffee delivery. The one before that, NFTs for dogs, I think. My parents bailed him out each time. Quietly, relentlessly. He lived rent-free in a condo they owned, called himself between ventures. But somehow I was the one being selfish. They never noticed when I stopped showing up on holidays. When my texts turned one word short. When I politely turned down every Sunday dinner. Every call that started with "we were thinking" and ended with "Kenji could use your help." They thought I was quiet because I had nothing to say. One for a real estate listing I bookmarked 6 months ago but never pursued. Seabreeze Residences. A luxury oceanfront apartment complex. It had been Kenji and Yuna's latest obsession. They'd toured it in April, raved about the glass balconies and heated floors. They couldn't afford it, of course, but they'd been angling to rent one of the corner units, hoping my parents would co-sign. Now I was making an offer on the entire building. By sunset, I'd submitted a formal bid, backed by years of savings and to investment portfolios they didn't even know I had. That night, I pushed a major code update to a private GitHub repo, a property management platform I'd been quietly building in my spare time. The same idea Kenji once tried to borrow for his failed startup. By the time I closed my laptop, phase 1 was complete. They thought I was spiraling. that I'd come crawling back. But I wasn't unraveling. I was constructing. Not revenge. Not chaos. A boundary. Made of brick, fiber cable, and legally binding contracts. They had wanted my home. I was about to show them what I really owned. 10 days passed in silence. Not true silence. There were still messages. Still calls from blocked numbers and mutual friends with nervous voices. Kenji sent a cousin to check in. Yuna posted vague jabs on social media about entitled people who don't support family. But I didn't respond. I was busy by then. The offer on Seabray's residences had been accepted. The paperwork was moving. My lawyer, Sana Kimura, efficient as ever, had flagged every clause. The complex would be mine within the month. But that wasn't the part that kept me up at night. The real rot was deeper. Years ago, when Kenji was launching his now-defunct crypto platform, Oryx, he came to me for technical advice. He said he needed someone to look over his architecture. I offered help. I reviewed his documents, shared a few of my own interface mock-ups, assuming he just needed inspiration. He took them, rebranded them, built a front-facing system that was 80% my Ori. Ginal code, untested, unsecure, irresponsibly modified. When Oryx collapsed spectacularly last year, he claimed market volatility. But now that I gained access to a few of his old servers, he never changed his admin passwords. Because of course he didn't. I found more than bad coding. I found records, shell corporations, fake consulting invoices, large transfers to a familiar business name, Tanaka and Associates LLC, my father's side business. They hadn't just stolen from me. They'd laundered investor money through my family's name. I called Sana. If I file this with the SEC, it'll bring them both down. She was quiet a moment. Do you want that? I want them to stop. I want them to understand I'm not afraid of them anymore. Then I sent one more email to my mother. Subject line: we should talk. She showed up the next morning. Akemi Tanaka. Pearls tight at the throat. Face drawn tighter. She tried to open with tears. I let her. But when I turned my laptop toward her and showed her the financial records, she stopped mid-sentence. You don't understand. No, I said, voice steady. You don't. Fraud isn't a mistake. And neither is raising a son who thinks stealing from family is strategy. Her hands trembled in her lap. I closed the laptop. We were just getting started. Akemi sat still for a long time. The tears had stopped. The softness she walked in with motherly grief. Wounded dignity had vanished. What remained was calculation. She wasn't here to heal. She was here to contain. What do you want, Maya? She asked finally. Her voice was tight, not broken, controlled. I want peace, I said. No more calls. No more flying monkeys. No more social media updates from Yuna about how I abandoned the family. She blinked. The penthouse is mine. Legally. Morally. Factually, it's off limits. My finances. My work. My future. Off limits. And if we don't agree to that, I looked at her, then really looked at the woman who had always chosen silence over truth, etiquette over protection. Who taught me that being a daughter meant knowing when to give up what you loved, quietly, with a smile? I gave her none of that now. I have documents that show Dad's involvement in Kenji's fraud. I have server logs, payment trails, names, screenshots, and I have video of him slapping me in a public venue with witnesses. You destroy your own family? She whispered. No, I said. You did that when you told me to give up my home. When Dad raised his hand. When Kenji watched and smiled. Her face crumpled. Just slightly. Like something inside her had shifted. But not enough to reach her mouth. I closed the laptop gently. The sound echoed more than I expected. I'm not asking for anything unreasonable, I said, standing. Just distance. Just silence. She didn't respond. Just rose, gathered her purse, and walked out. I stood by the window for a long time after. Watched her disappear into a black sedan. No slammed doors. No shouted names. Only quiet. And for once, it belonged to me. 1 week passed. Then 2. I didn't hear from Akemi. Takeshi didn't call. Kenji didn't post. But the silence wasn't peace. It was pressure building behind a dam. The first crack came in. Email from my real estate agent. Subject: eviction notice processed. Unit 1 for C. Kenji and Yuna had stopped paying rent. 2 months delinquent. Ignored notices. Blamed a miscommunication with the leasing office. What they didn't know, what no one in that building knew, was that I was the new owner. The name on their final notice was mine. I didn't gloat. I didn't interfere. I let the process unfold the way it was designed to .quiet.legal. Permanent. They moved out in silence. No Instagram photos. No long goodbye. Just one text from Kenji the night they left. Mom told me what you're doing. You can't prove anything. I stared at the message for a while, then attached a screenshot. Server logs bearing his full name. Time-stamped file access. Account IDs. I sent it without a word. His reply came minutes later. What do you want? I answered in 3 words. Total distance. No more demands. No more guilt trips disguised as family dinners. No more pretending we were something we hadn't been in years. He tried one last time. You've changed. I looked at the message, then wrote, no. I just stopped pretending. Then I silenced the thread and archived the conversation. That night, I walked out onto the penthouse balcony. The city lights were soft, almost kind. I thought of how many years I'd spent trying to be good enough, useful enough. Now I didn't need to be anything but free. They had tried to take my home and ended up losing their own. It was a Tuesday evening when the knock came. Not urgent, not angry, just hesitant. I checked the security camera. Takeshi Tanaka, standing alone in the hallway, shoulders squared like habit. But his hands kept adjusting his jacket like he didn't know what to do with them. I could have ignored it. But curiosity won. I opened the door, but didn't step aside. He looked older than I remembered. His jaw wasn't set like usual. His eyes didn't scan the room like he owned it. 5 minutes, he said. That's all I'm asking. I said nothing, but I didn't close the door either. They're moving back in with us, he said finally. Kenji and Yuna. They couldn't keep the apartment. I know. I replied, voice flat. I own the building. He blinked, as if the sentence didn't compute. Then something behind his eyes gave way. You, he said, quietly. But how? Because I'm good at what I do. Dad. I always was. You just never noticed. He looked down. The silence between us stretched. Not hostile. Not awkward. Just real. Your mother misses you. We all do. No, I said. You miss having someone to push around. Someone to sacrifice for Kenji. That person doesn't live here anymore. He nodded slowly. I was wrong, he said. About a lot of things. The slap. The way we treated you. Covering for Kenji. I've lost everything because of it. It was true. After I showed Akemi what I had, Takeshi had stepped down from his company's board. The whispers in his circles had started. His clean record no longer clean. I didn't release anything, I said. The threat was enough. He looked up, then really looked. You haven't lost everything, I added. You still have your golden child. Isn't that what matters? He exhaled, shaky. We made mistakes. No, I said. You made choices. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. Your mother wanted you to have this. It's an invitation. Her birthday dinner. I took it, but didn't open it. I'll think about it. And I closed the door. Not loud. Not fast. But with finality. I held the envelope for 3 days before I opened it. No note. Just cream cardstock with my mother's handwriting. Delicate cursive that always looked more like a performance than a signature. Please join us for Akemi Tanaka's 63rd birthday dinner. Family only, family. I almost laughed, but I didn't throw it away. The night of the dinner, I arrived late, 15 minutes after everyone had already been seated. I wore black. Not dramatic. Not mourning. Just neutral. Present. But untouchable. Kenji and Yuna sat in the far corner. Their clothes once designer, now department store simple. She didn't meet my eye. He barely looked up. My father, Takeshi, stayed sober. He nodded when I entered. Nothing more. My mother smiled. Too wide. Too quickly. As if the room might shatter if I didn't play along. But I didn't perform. I observed. No one asked me questions. No one gave me orders. And when I left early quietly, without fanfare, no one followed me. A few months later, I hosted a dinner of my own. It wasn't in their home. It wasn't family only. It was on my balcony, my penthouse. There was wine, laughter, the sharp scent of roasted garlic, and soft jazz playing low in the background. Haruto came, of course. So did Sana, my lawyer, and Rina, the real estate agent who helped me secure the building. People who never expected me to give up pieces of myself just to earn space at their table. We toasted as the city lit up beneath us. To Maya, Haruto said, raising his glass, who turned a slap into an empire. I smiled. Not out of victory. Out of peace. Not silence. Not surrender. Choice. They tried to take my home, but instead, they gave me my freedom.